When can I start?
Now, if you are ready, Doctor.
Okay. There's background noise. So should I start then now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me share. Can you mute yourself, Reem? Because there is background coming from you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, hi everyone. This is Wael Al-Delaimi. I am from the University of California, San Diego, and I am the chair of the board of directors of the Society for Advancement of Science and Technology in the Arab World. Thank you for joining this diaspora conference and networking that has been organized by SASTA with other collaborators. We are looking forward to learn and also contribute. So in my talk, I'm going to discuss some of the aspects related to engaging diaspora scientists with the example of the Arab diaspora. As you, many of you know, this is the kind of Middle East or the Arabian area, which has many civilizations. This is an old map showing the Byzantine, the Muslim civilization, and the Moors and others who were part of these civilizations at that time. So this region was an area of knowledge and science for many centuries. And unfortunately, of course, it has declined. And we are going to kind of discuss why this has happened. Some of the well-known facts is that the first science institute was in 1786 in Iraq. And the first university was in Morocco in 1841. First modern hospitals were in Egypt and Iraq in 800 and 900. The founders of modern chemistry, like Jabir ibn Hayyan al-Kindi from Iraq in the 700s, 800s. Founder of modern algebra, Khwarizmi, 850, based in Iraq. The optical science discovery in Ibn Haytham in 1011 in Egypt. And other medical discoveries like Ibn Nafis, who discovered the blood circulation many centuries before the Europeans. So all of this is documented in this source of 1001 inventions, the Muslim heritage in our world. So this is a modern day Arabia or the region, and these are the countries, and this is where SASTA is focused on. The region accounts for 5% of the global population, but 32% of the world's refugees. And so there's a huge influx of refugees from this region, disproportionate to the world population. At the same time, the students are not highly educated, so that it was found, according to this UNESCO report, that Arab students account for 40% of low achievement, compared to only 13% for the Organization of Economic, I forgot the name for it. It's the 37 countries that are developed countries. The Arab region is the only developing region that has been showing an increase in poverty and hunger since 1990. This is in a previous UNESCO 2016 report. And there has been an income inequality, that is, the index has dropped. So that means there is more income inequality from 0.6 to 0.5. That is a sign that there is more disparity. Only 25% of the Arab women participate in labor force, which is half of the average for the developing nations. The state of education in the Arab world is not good as well. Education in the Middle East is not yet fully developed to produce graduates with skills and expertise necessary to compare. It was found that those who are at the age of 15 did not do as well, from the Arab countries, did not do as well when competing for testing for mathematics and other sciences compared to other regions. Therefore, most of the educational systems needs overhaul, and it has been identified since 2005 a report as that the Arab region is the least research and development intensive area in the world, spending a staggering $1 trillion on foreign technology over the past 3 decades as a whole region. In terms of the total research and development expenditure as percentage of GDP, you can see it's very low. This is the United States, 2.61 per GDP. And for all of these countries, it's very low. Tunisia at that time, 2005, was the highest. This has shifted a little bit in recent time, with the UAE having the highest GDP of 1.3, but all other countries have not changed in the last few years. And so, the global average of GDP for research and development is 1.79, which is higher than all of those, and sometimes threefold than other countries. In terms of researchers per million inhabitants, it has been increasing. So we are having more researchers and scientists, and technicians in all of the countries, as you can see, compared to 2013. So that's a good sign, but it's still lower than the rest of the world. There's also issues of low literacy in the region compared to the developing and the rest of the world. There's lower published papers than other areas, and the university ranking is lower also. Academic curriculum, as we said, is dated. The job placement of graduates, there's no planning for how to place them, and they are not ready to join the market because their education curriculum is not fully developed for this market. And there's also unequal distribution of resources and human capacity. The other problem which we want to talk about is the brain drain, that all those who are, promising and achievers, they feel like they have to leave so that they can achieve what they want. And that's contributing further to this disparity and brain drain. So diaspora is the answer for that. And this is again from the UNESCO, that Arab countries should call upon the diaspora, which has not been adequately consulted on new science, technology, and innovation policies adopted in recent years. This is a kind of a figure that describes how the brain drain is inversely associated with the education system. So the decay is resulting from the brain drain. And one of the partnership one of the solutions is partnership with the Arab diaspora, as well as developing world-class academic and research institutions that will lead to brain gain. And this is developed by one of my colleagues, Dr. Hilal Ashwal. So according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, which I mentioned earlier, the Arab world has the highest per capita expatriate population. So compared to China and India, it's 1.5% of the population compared to 0.15 and 0.16. And they have a very high skilled group of refugees. So as a result, compared to China's population of 1 billion, 0.2, and India almost 1 billion, there is similar, or in case of India, larger than India, skilled expatriates. So the current challenges for addressing this is lack of infrastructure, lack of up-to-date talent and skills, lack of science funding, lack of local industry for innovation, lack of research interest, as well as political instability. And unfortunately, with science, you can't have shortcuts. You can't just build buildings and have science. You have to have a process. There's a process of building from the ground up the science and the development in terms of capacity, as well as buildings, technology, and so on, equipment. So some of the solutions for that in general, for the lack of research and science technology in the Arab world, is decentralization rather than having the ministries control everything, a genuine focus for the governments. It comes with freedom of expression. Science means that whatever you find scientifically, you can express without fear of reprisal or repression. And that is not always the case, especially if the science touches on things that the government doesn't want. There should be also openness towards collaboration with the other outside scientific entities, elevate the status of the scientists in this region, and better use of resources and transparency. And that is a problem also because of corruption in many of these countries. So the diaspora, again, can be the solution for that. That's where I'm going to describe SASTA, the Society for Advancement of Science and Technology, which was formed in 2009 and registered in 2010 as a nonprofit in the US. The idea or the focus for membership of SASTA would be that they have to be highly trained expatriates, first generation, because the first generation immigrants are more likely to be committed than the second or third generation. They have to be dedicated to the cause, independent, unselfish volunteers, and highly selective, supported by recognized international entity. That was the vision. And we, to a large extent, succeeded in achieving that vision. The mission was to mobilize and catalyze the engagement of scientists, professionals, NGOs, academic institutions, professional societies, to advance higher education, science, and research in the Arab countries. So SASTA would develop and maintain comprehensive database, establish partnership with universities locally, as well as industry, and develop programs to help train local students, as well as acting as an independent, nonpartisan scientific body on issues related to science. So we had all of these events. It started with the event of the expatriate scientists that was organized by the Qatar Foundation. And as a result, that gave us the idea to develop SASTA. And so the World Economic Forum invited a group of us, 2009, and then as well in 2010 and 2011 to attend the World Economic Forum on the science and contribute to the regional conferences that was held usually in Jordan. Then we made site visits after we organized the SASTA. We were invited by the American University in Cairo, Al-Azhar University, Alexandria University, King Abdulaziz University in Saudi, Jizan in Saudi, Kuwait University, Rabat University in Morocco, and Jordan University of Science Technology. So we were immediately, like almost overnight, were recognized by the world of academia in the region. So some of the pictures of these events. This is with Queen Rania from Jordan, and this is with Princess Dina, also at the World Economic Forum. And again, meetings at these are some of the members at that time of our society at the World Economic Forum, and carrying workshops. This is Dr. Hilal Ashwal, the co-founder, who was carrying a workshop for the regional students, as well as people who are interested in academia in the region. This is from the visit to Al-Azhar University with the presidents and the deans. This is a signed memorandum of understanding with Jordan University of Science and Technology to help them advance their strategy for research, which actually, according to Dr. Omar, after a few years, said that the reason just Jordan University of Science and Technology advanced in its ranking is because of the change in that strategy that was done by SASTA. We were also invited by the AAAS to be part of the expatriate panels from Ireland, from the Caribbean, and we shared our challenges and our successes, and that was very, very helpful. We were invited by the Arab League to discuss with the Secretary General how we can advance science technology in the region. And we, as a result, initiated 2 conferences for expatriates with the Arab League. The second one was really advancing not just workshop, but an agenda for research for the whole region. This is a picture of the attendees who came from all over the region, as well as all over the Western world from the diaspora. But things happened unexpectedly because of the Arab Spring. Between 2011, 2013, there was a lot of chaos, uncertainty, political instability. Many of the contacts we had were removed, replaced. The priorities also for these countries moved away from science. And as a result, many of the SASTA members who were very enthusiastic were discouraged. And so many of these initiatives that we had were abandoned. Therefore, we are now kind of coming back after a period of reflection and refocus, and things are kind of, activities are coming back. And this is one of the Diaspora conferences, one of the achievements, and thanks also to our president, Dr. Rana Dejani. So I made these categories of diaspora, and I want to kind of also open it up for discussion for those who are attending. But I categorized based on our experience with the members into these 5 categories. So there are a group of diaspora who are not interested and not connected to their country of origin. And this is, I would say, a small minority of 10% for the first generation, but it's very high for second or third generation who have lost contact and not interested. These are estimates based on my experience, maybe 80% of the other second, third generations. Then there are people or scientists who are connected to their country, but not interested in contributing. That's a good proportion. I gave it a 30%. And I put 5% for the second generation because most are not connected. Very few are connected. Then there are groups who are connected to their country of origin and interested, but do not have time. And this is a good proportion as well, about 20%, first generation, and maybe just 5% and maybe 5% from the second generation. Then there is a group of connected and interested, and will have time if provided compensation. And that is a larger percentage. Those are people who are willing to help and participate if they're compensated. Could be 30, maybe even more. And still we have, a smaller percentage for those who are second generation, because they're basically disconnected. So they're like any other group who might be interested because of the science, not because of helping the region. Then the final group are those who are connected to their region or country of origin, and they're interested, and they will volunteer time regardless of compensation or not, in the interest of the country. And this is a very small percentage, of less than 10%, and less than 2% for other generations. And this is kind of where we were targeting for SASTA, this group, those less than 10%. It was not very easy, but we managed to do that and engage them to a large extent, as well as those who were provided compensation. So we managed to achieve that despite the difficulty, until the Arab Spring came and kind of disrupted things. And now we're going back to basically building that membership again. So what are the major challenges for engagement? Definitely number one is the resources and funding are scarce, and that's always a major challenge. The governments are not interested. The governments that are part of the the lands or countries of origin of diaspora are really not supportive, don't have a vision of how diaspora can help them. Then there is the other challenge of those scientists who are already in these countries feel like this is competition. So many do not welcome this collaboration. And I heard this firsthand, say, why do we need people from outside the country? Our country have the best scientists. And they don't look beyond that, beyond their self-interest or self-image or ego, and more look at what is the best for the country. Again, those diaspora are busy academics, and research commitments take them away from even their families, let alone to try and help the region. There's sometimes, for the Arab region specifically, state of hopelessness given the political instability. Many have tried and failed. I would say, a good proportion of those who are interested and connected and want to help have tried and failed. And they tell me their stories, how they tried and failed, and then they give up. And then even if those who succeed, after some time, their effort dies out because of lack of sustainability, resources, and long-term commitment. And so that's why the more of the success stories are mostly funded grants or projects from funding bodies. The challenge, of course, when the funding ends, these projects might also end. So I want to stop here and kind of see if anybody from the audience would like to put in the chat their comments about what could be solutions to this based on your experience, and we can try and respond to that. So I will look for any comments from the attendees in the chat. Okay, well, if there aren't any thoughts from those who are attending, I know it's kind of a difficult time because I'm on West Coast and it's late night and early morning in many places around the world. So, so there is one comment saying, talking more about science with the younger generation. That is a possibility, that talking with the younger generation about science, but that alone doesn't help if they are in a system where there isn't any support for that science, or the academic teaching and education is not relevant to the market. So even if you talk about science, even if you get them interested, they see there's no income for them when they finish. And so that alone is probably not going to solve this problem. One of the things that really I wanted to address is having the organizations of diaspora learn from each other, which is why we called or wanted to support this diaspora network, is learning what worked for others, and what are the challenges and how they overcame it. Because most of the diaspora come from countries that are low income and they don't have the resources. So how did they manage? What are the successes? Like I described, and there are other similar examples of success stories as well. So that is one aspect. I think a major gap also is the private industry. That is not engaged because they can benefit from the diaspora, bringing them technology, advancing their professional work and so on. So I think there is, in the Arab world specifically, there is lack of that vision and interest by industry as well. And they are losing out on this expertise to help advance their products. And then, the people who are in charge in the governments, they really should think about this as part of their strategy and reach out to them, like people in China and other countries like Singapore, or other countries that benefit from diaspora and advancing their technology by making the environment for them, giving them incentives so that they can back and settle, or if not come back and settle, at least share their experience and help advance academia and science in their home country. There's also a comment. How do you see the role of governance limitation engagement, particularly in South-South diaspora migration and engagement of diaspora? Well, I didn't understand the question very well, but I think that the question is asking how the diaspora can help each other when there is lack of government support. I think maybe if that is the question, then I would say when there are numbers, there's always an impact. So for example, if the Arab diaspora partners with the African diaspora and with the Latin America diaspora and Southeast Asia diaspora, that is a network that to be reckoned with. And if they come as a whole, as a group, and approach governments, they are more likely to be heard than just one diaspora, because this is a wealth of scientists, and any area probably in any science needed will be found, given this is a worldwide diaspora of scientists. So therefore, this could help, raise the profile and make these governments listen, or if not the governments, maybe the academic institutions, maybe have these conferences hosted in these academic universities, not just virtually, but in person, maybe finding funding to bring these conferences of networks that would become more regular and benefit the country, the host country. That is the vision that SESTA has and still has, to benefit the country that hosts a conference, because the focus will be on their needs. And Unfortunately, that has not been utilized. There's also a comment reminding the diaspora of giving back values. We are all responsible for catalyzing the change. Yes, and I think reminding is okay, but at the end, everybody has their priority. Everybody has a personality. I recall having a discussion with somebody from the Arab diaspora when we were invited to Doha. And I was, among others, very excited about building institutions from the ground up to cater for the needs and so on. And that person, who's an achieved person, I think, in the pharmaceutical industry, said, I'm not interested in building. I'm interested in something ready and for me just to move in and support it. So, it's a different mentality. Of course, that vision is not going to work for this region, at least, where everything is built and then we come in. It has to come from the ground up and has to be participatory. Otherwise, it will not succeed. And some countries have failed in that aspect. They thought we just put money and we'll bring and build the buildings and people will come. It didn't work like that. So that's why reminding is good, but it's not always going to be successful unless somebody from their inner morals, commitments, whatever you call it, that they are genuinely interested in helping and taking time out of their busy schedule to volunteer. And then, if there is compensation for their time or travel, that's great. If not, they can still help, especially now with the virtual reality we have lived in academia for the last 2 years because of COVID. Anybody can help with limited time commitments. So I don't see any other comments, but I think this discussion is really ongoing and we don't have questions, but I appreciated the questions as well, as hopefully there will be ways that others can comment when they see the video and provide their solutions so that we learn from it. So I will end here, and hopefully I will follow up any comments related to this talk, and looking forward to further collaboration and networking with other diaspora. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ray, for your time and your volunteering. Thank you. It was an interesting session, and thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.